And this is part 2 of building the front weight for this Massey Ferguson 35. And if you haven't seen part 1, you probably want to go and check that out first. And as you saw there, I got this thing mostly finished up. But then the thing is that I needed this like right when I got it finished, so I did not have time to paint it and really finish it properly. And I just threw this weight on here, and that was a little too little, so I threw this piece of railroad track on here to get a little more weight. And that works, and it worked pretty good. It's a little too light, but not too bad. It works. And I thought to kind of leave it like this because it works just fine, and even if it's not painted, it will never rust away or anything, but it just looks kind of ugly. So yeah, so I thought we were just gonna take a wire wheel and just clean it up and splash some paint on there, make it look a little nicer. And then we're also gonna make this look a little better, not hold on by a couple of ratchet straps. And my first plan was just to secure this a little better and make it look a little nicer, but kind of keep it like it is. But I changed my mind on that, so we actually turned out to completely remake it. And then the dumb thing is that it was just our steel supplier a couple of weeks ago now maybe, and they have a pile of this just scrap, really, not really, but it's a pile of metal just laying outside, so it's all rusty and everything, and they sell it pretty cheaply. So I bought this stuff and some other stuff. This is and they take about 5 Swedish crowns a kilo, which is pretty good. So what I should have done is just bought a 100 kilo chunk of steel and put on the front of that. Would have been a lot better, but didn't think of that. It would only cost like 60 bucks or something like that, so it's not too bad. Well, you saw we're securing this a little better, and also got a bit of heavier railroad track here. It's a bit bigger, so it should weigh a bit more, so we'll just cut a piece of that and put that instead of this, and I think it should work pretty good. Well, I guess we're gonna have to figure out some other way to get that piece of railroad track in here. It was kind of too wide to get it in like that. But, or I can just cut it outside, I guess that's easier. So it's another little while later here, and I've been thinking a bit of what's the best way to do this or make a good front weight for this. And obviously before just had that weight on there, threw that on there, and then just had that piece on top of it. But that, while it worked, it was a little too light, and it didn't look very nice or anything like that. Having that little piece underneath and then a long railroad track on top looked kind of weird. And then also weighed that piece. That's about 1 meter long, and it weighs 30 kilos. And that weighs 50 kilos. And I would like to make it a little heavier because it was a little too light. So that's totally 80 kilos. And I would like to add it so it weighs around 110, 120 kilos or something like that. Maybe it's not super precise, but a little more. And I have this piece of railroad track that's a lot bigger than the other piece that was in there. This weighs, I haven't weighed it, but I think it weighs about 50 kilos per meter. So that's that's 20 kilos more per meter. And I just made this to put that 50 kilo weight on top of it. But now I've changed the plans. So what I thought we were gonna do is just to cut this off here and there, obviously. And then we're gonna cut a piece of that bigger railroad track that weighs 50 kilos per meter, and then we're gonna put an 80 centimeter piece here, and then we're gonna put, well, this maybe doesn't really make sense, but then on top of that we're gonna put that 50 kilo weight and then a couple little pieces of railroad track on either side of that. And that should end up weighing, if my calculations are right, about between 110 and 120 kilos. I don't know if that made any sense, but let's just start with cutting this off here anyway. And now the nice thing is that I found a torch on Facebook Marketplace, which was a pretty good price. So, well, I found it and then Dad wanted to buy it, so I let him buy it, or pay for it, because then I get a torch that I can use, but I didn't have to pay for it. I can spend that money on something else, but I still get one that I can use, so that's kind of nice, I guess. And if you wonder why these bottles are so small, that's because in Sweden, at least, this is 10-liter bottles, and then that's the biggest you can actually own. And then when they are empty, you just go in and exchange bottles, and you pay for a refill then. And if you want any bigger bottles, you have to rent them, and that's just not, I don't know how much it actually costs, but it's kind of expensive, and we just don't use it for it to be worth to pay that. And these are kind of special bottles, or they're not special, I guess, but we got two systems in Sweden. I'm just talking in how it is in Sweden because that's how I know, or what I know of. And this is the one system. It's called the company or whatever that has this is AB. No, it's air liquid. That's what it's called. And then the system is called AB, kind of. Yeah, that's what it's called. And what is kind of special with them is that they got built-in regulators here, so you don't have to have an actual regulator. And why we went with these is just, well, that's actually the only torch, oxyacetylene torch that we found for a reasonable price, used, with 10-liter bottles, I think. And why we didn't just go and buy it new is because it's ridiculously expensive. To buy one of these bottles cost about $700-800. Okay, like, I think, say $600-700 a piece just for the bottles. Not very cheap, so. And we found it used for, I don't know, like 900, I think it was. And then you get everything. And then the other system is, well, your regular bottles, really. And then you just put a regulator here instead of it's being built in. Don't know which is best, but this is kind of nice. You don't have to worry about a regulator being bad or anything like that. And then we obviously have the actual torch too. I just have had that off to look for these tips, try to find which tips it should be, because all of them I was with it. It's to say the least in not very good shape, and we haven't bought any, but I think I found one that will hopefully work just to cut this today. And also, one thing that is kind of stupid with this is that the hose is like 3 meters long. It's super short, but so you should get a little bit longer hose. No. There we go. And it is a whole pile of different tips with them. And we did I can't talk today. We got a whole pile of tips here, torch tips. But yeah, they're all just kind of messed up, honestly. Messed up. And these are kind of the ones in 2 parts too. And I wonder how you clean these, because I know the other tips, like the more regular ones, they just have holes all the way around, and then you just take a little, I don't know, little thing, and then you just clean these out. I don't know how you can clean these out though. And then it's just this box here, which, well, it's full, which is junk, so I thought, let's just clean this out. I know this wasn't quite what the video was about, but, well, anyway, we'll just clean out. But you just got a whole pile of these, whatever they're called. But, yeah, most of these are just junk, really. here's another torch tip. It's actually 50 to 100 millimeters this thing will cut. I mean, that's some thick steel. I think this is you can put a center punch mark in a piece of plate here. Hope you can see here, kind of. And then you put the torch in here. Put that in there. And then you put that in the center punch mark or the hole, whatever, and then you can cut out the circle. Like that, just move around. You know what that is? That's I don't know, forgot what you call that. That's what you put in a keyway anyway. Like that, but that's just huge one. That will actually come in handy pretty soon for a project they're gonna do. I just realized that now. That will be great. What do you call that? A pulley. That's gonna be 8 centimeters wide and 30 centimeters in diameter, roughly. And I think I might actually you can use that for that. Steel scrap. But it actually has a lot more usable stuff in here than I thought it would be. And actually, it was a whole pile of them, these little things in there. They're in the box there. So I don't think I need any more of these for a while at least. And then it's 4 of these strikers. I remember they're called now. You just unscrew this little thing here. Yeah, you unscrew that and then you just screw a new one on. That, and then if this little thing in there is not too worn, it should make sparks. Got a pile of these. That's nice. Now I'm just gonna clean up the rest of this mess. So I could actually search up how you clean these. Actually, I maybe should do that, but I thought I could just try it out first. This actually got a whole blob of material blocking the oxygen hole in the middle there. This is just blocked there, so we'll throw that back in the well there. And found another one that is, well, it's kind of terrible shape too, but I think we can make this work. And I also did find how you clean these. It was kind of hard because these the single piece tips is definitely the most regular ones, I think, but it was not hard. You just like the other ones, you just file this flat, and here you're just gonna make sure these are clean. The guy I saw just took a knife like this and just made sure it was nice and clean. Just a little burr here, gonna take that off. And then I'm just gonna make sure all these are clean in here. There you can hopefully maybe see it. You probably can't see it. You can see some light in there. It's clean anyway, whatever. And that's also clean. I think that should be good enough. I'm just gonna have to buy some new tips and could be smart doing it the right way. Tightening the right way. That should be good. And then it's very hard to read what says it on that tip, but it's 15 to 25 millimeters supposed to cut, and I just print out this paper. This is type of tip. It should be, so I think that's what it is too. Just 0.3 to 0.8 bars of acetylene, so 2 to 3.5 bars of oxygen. Then just gonna set that up and we can hopefully cut some pieces here. Just gonna have to dry it off so I can actually draw on it. I'm thankful I found some of this in the box on there. I got it with the oxy torch there. Because I thought we had some at home, but couldn't find anything. I wouldn't be able to draw it. Because a regular pen, I guess that just burns away. This stuff shouldn't burn away. It's probably not going to be any nice cuts. I have used an oxyacetylene torch before actually, to cut off some railroad track before actually. But that was just to make a material separation. Here I want to make a kind of nice cut at least. And I just found a problem here. These quick connects have seen better days. Both of them actually leak if you pull them. So that's not very good. And if you wonder if we're even going to do some torch cutting today, and you don't have to worry, we're going to do some torch cutting eventually at least. But yeah, as I said, I bought this on just a yard sale. I got everything, you know, this handle, that box you saw, and both regulators. So really the only thing, well, I guess I need a new hose and probably some one of these and some bottles, and then I had a whole torch really. But anyway, so we're gonna just steal these and then just get rid of the quick connects here, kind of. Just leave this like that. We can hopefully just cut this off right there. I guess I haven't. Yeah, that looks to be the right size. I didn't check. It just looked like it was the right size. Actually, I think, yeah, we don't need the quick connects. I really don't see why you really need them. At least we don't. So we couldn't just take this off. But actually, it's an O-ring in there that seals against this then. And well, you can just replace that, I think. Oh yeah. Huh. I think this hose clamp is shot. And that's no good. This just doesn't want to come apart. How? Just hope this. Huh. That's not the same size. I thought that would be the same size, which it apparently isn't. So, let's see here. The thing is, I found these in the box. Well, in the torch wagon, whatever it's called here. And just gonna figure this out somehow. But what I thought is, then this here it's blue, so it's an oxygen. This is a right hand thread. It's like regular bolts, or not, you just screw them down, righty tighty and lefty loosey. But on the gas, like the acetylene, or I guess it's the same thing for propane, it's left hand thread, so you're not gonna mix things up. But this is so what I thought we can do, because this should be more of a proper size to go in there. Yeah. So what now? Let's see here. So this should go here. This should have left-hand thread now. And then at least I can get it so it doesn't leak, hopefully, on the acetylene here, because that's the actual gas, the burnable gas, if you say. If it leaks a little oxygen, it's just a waste of oxygen. It's not potentially going to start a fire, because oxygen doesn't really burn. I mean, I guess it does burn, but it's not flammable. Idiot, should have had that on before. Guess no. And this, you can see, screwing it on the wrong way here. Left hand thread should just go on there. And just tighten that down. And then these are actually too small. These are not, you can't use those. And that's no good. And then this is good, but wait a minute. This we're gonna use this right here. We're gonna just press that together enough so it seals. And next time when I go to the welding supplier, order something online, you can just order that, I guess, so we can get this put together properly. And this just go like that. So finally, let's see if it leaks first before I say anything. No, that should not leak. And this. No leaky. Perfect. So, got this cut off, kind of. Missed these parts here. And, well, it's not very pretty. I definitely have, I need a lot more training before I can get nice cuts. Though, it's not the easiest shape to cut, especially not in this area here. And also, the torch tip I'm using is a 25 mil. So, and this is, I don't know what that would be, 30-40 mil. you can see there, it's quite a lot thicker than 25 mil, which makes it kind of difficult to cut. So you have to go really slow and whatever. I struggle with that, to cut that off for not half an hour, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. Though I wasn't cutting the whole time, obviously. But the biggest problem I had, and I was just stupid and didn't think about it, I adjusted the oxygen setting with this. So cut good here. You should adjust here, but adjusted it here. So when I push this on, it maybe, well, it didn't get full oxygen flow out, which is what you should have. So what you should do is to turn this on all the way. Maybe not that much, but like that. And then adjust here so the flame is right. And then when you want to actually cut, you just push that down and you get full oxygen flow out. And I didn't get that until the last little bit, and then it got a little easy, to say the least. But yeah, I guess I'll learn it sometime to cut it properly. But now let's just cut a 80 centimeters piece off of this. And I hope you can see that little piece that I cut off there. I just weighed that, and that turns out to weigh 12 and a half kilos. And then it's 25 centimeters long. So I just cut 15 by 2.5, and that turns out to be 5 kilos per decimeter, so it's 50 kilos per meter. And then it weighs as much as I thought it was. So yeah, so I didn't have to adjust the length here. As I said, you're gonna cut 80 centimeters. Hopefully this is gonna go a little smoother to cut this time. And I just realized it's probably smart to move that over there for cutting. Something else is, yeah, right. It actually destroys the concrete completely. I'm gonna have to go and get some piece of sheet metal and protect the concrete. Oh gosh. And I just got a piece of sheet metal. I just realized that thing is gonna melt because it's aluminium. So, got this piece cut off and cleaned up. I know my cuts are kind of terrible. I need to train on that a little bit. But this time it worked a lot better, at least I think. I mean, it's still freaking ugly, but the one thing with cutting like this bottle was full when I started. Okay, sure, full. I mean, full is like right there. Right there it was full. 2 cuts, I'm right there. And it just uses quite a lot of gas. So this is when I was finished with this whole project. You can see it's actually not that bad. It's actually higher than what I just showed you. And I don't know why that is, but well, that's what it is. So it's actually not as bad as I thought, even if it's still pretty expensive. And that's not really a problem that it uses that much gas. The problem is the cost to fill one of these bottles. It cost 160 bucks to fill that bottle, roughly around that, which is really expensive. And I don't know how much that cost to do these 2 cuts here, but it's not cheap. Yeah, it's honestly would be way cheaper just use an angle grinder for that. Might be kind of a pain, but would be a whole lot cheaper. Another thing you could use is a circle saw, but for metal. It's just like a circle saw, but for metal, really. Which seems to, I've seen some use that, and it seems to work pretty good. Kind of want one, but they're probably like $700 and up, so kind of expensive too. But that would probably cut this also. Probably just as quick, but a whole lot cheaper at least, because yeah, I had no idea it just used that much gas and that it would cost, well, like, I just think it's kind of absurd that it costs that much to fill a little bottle like that. But it's because cutting this, because I need to cut off, do another 2 cuts. And well, I was just thinking that it might be just cheaper to do with an angle grinder actually. But now my plan is just to put this on like that, I mean. Just to, yeah, weld this to that piece now. But before we do that, so we're gonna notch this out a little bit right here. And then we're gonna put that 50 kilo weight on top of here. Put that so it will be laying on that piece and then on here. It's not light, to say the least. Center here, it's about 40 and a half. And then that was 28. At least I'm gonna cut it, so that's 14. Somewhere about there. Better cut a little too big than a little too small. What about this? I think that'll work pretty good. That's not actually even all that bad. I mean, it's kind of terrible, but my best cut so far at least. So I think you can kind of start to see what this thing is going to look like now. Why I don't continue welding this is because my fresh air helmet ran out of battery, or the fan unit ran out of battery, so it's dumb. But yeah, I kind of got a charge now. So. And it's kind of late, so I guess we'll just have to continue tomorrow. I don't want to hurt my fingers either. And this, look at that. Look at that. At least there, you can see it's hardly any gap up there even. I mean, I would have been happy if it looked like that. Well, I guess the other way, but anyway, that's great. I don't think I'm gonna use this piece, but I will just put a couple pieces like that on either side. Will just look like that. Another one right there. I think that'll actually look kind of cool too. At least it will weigh a lot. guess I don't need such a big one, but it was just the first one I found. I think this will be a little more effective than this. And what I'm doing is just preheating this because this is such a big chunks of steel and it's cold. And then when you weld, the pieces just suck all the heat out of the weld, so it just ends up being a cold weld. And the cold weld is a weak weld, so these welds probably doesn't need to be that strong, but thought I might as well when I do it. So I got that piece on there, and I didn't weld it like crazy. It's not gonna go anywhere. And also, if you want to take this apart sometime and do something else with this, it's not too much weld you have to cut apart. I don't know. I think it looks kind of cool anyway. Now I'm just gonna put two pieces on either side. I'm not gonna use that piece. It's just ugly and it's actually a little too short. But what I thought I'm gonna do is try to use the angle grinder for one cut. Just see kind of how long it takes and whatever, just to kind of compare it to cutting. I don't know, just yeah, thought to do that. And also I'm not doing it just for that. I know that cut is actually absolutely terrible, but instead of getting a cut like that against this, I can actually get a nice square cut against this. I think that will look kind of nicer. I mean, I could grind it kind of nice, but if I still wouldn't grind it, I might as well cut it kind of, so yeah. And also then I can torch this other part off. I just need to make one cut to get, you know, two nice ends, if that makes any sense. there we go, got this thing fully welded up. I haven't fully welded everything. Usually I kind of do that, but thought it was just kind of a waste of time and welding wire, because it doesn't, I mean, honestly, a few tacks would be good enough, because it's just weight, it's no real structurally anything to it. So I think this should be more than strong enough. The only thing I didn't think about is usually I just tack it whatever, but I shouldn't tack it here, because usually I just weld over it so you don't see the tacks. So I'm gonna have to grind those away, and I think that will be okay. And now actually I'm gonna have to grind this down to make this look a lot more like this. And this was my last cut I did. I'm actually pretty happy with that. At least this and here. This is kind of hard with a too small torch tip. And yeah, it's maybe meant to cut that deep, not, you know, this whole way here. It's probably 50 mil, not 45 mil, and it's meant to cut 25. So, but I'm actually pretty happy with that. It's actually fairly nice and smooth, and not tons of slag or anything on the side. I think that was another cut I did. That's the second cut, so you can kind of see the difference. Well, I guess I still have a lot to learn, but let's get this ground down a little bit. So, I think this is actually finished now. Oh, wait anyway. Now the thing is, to get it hooked on the tractor, because it's kind of heavy. So, I mean, I can kind of lift half of it, and then, but yeah, I guess if we were two people, we could lift it on, but kind of like to save my back, not doing that. So yeah. But I have an idea here. In order to take this here and just cut out a piece like this, and then we weld that on there, like that. And then I also found this thing here. Get this out, maybe. I thought we can take this and put this like this right here, and then we also get, you know, if I get stuck or something with a tractor and have this on, I can just hook to this and you know, pull the tractor out, or you know, whatever. It looks kind of cool too. And then obviously we're gonna cut this whole piece off, because then we'll be able to, my idea was at least to turn this up, and then I can just take the tractor and not the forks, I don't know what you call that, but you can take that and just, you know, take the one bar into here, and then just lift this whole weight up, and then hook it on the front of the tractor there. I hope that made any sense anyway. That's what we're gonna do. So, yes. So, and then I thought we were just gonna cut this up here, kind of, and then bit down like that. And then here, I'm just gonna use this piece. I did kind of mess this up here, because I actually cut it here first, and then, yeah, don't ask me what happened there. But we kind of just have to cut this off right here. I think that'll do. And then we're just gonna use that cut there. I guess we don't necessarily need the whole width of this, so we might just torch off a little like that, kind of 1.5 centimeters, something like that, 1/2 inch. And then it's just gonna look something like that. But this obviously in there. I think that'll actually look kind of cool. probably 40 minutes ago at least since I cut this, and it's still hot enough so I can't touch this. It's just crazy how much mass it is in this, and just how long it can hold the heat. And this is obviously, if I leave it in here overnight, I mean this whole chunk of steel here is just warm still. I mean it's really warm now all the way through, so if I leave it overnight it's probably still gonna be warm tomorrow morning. Maybe. It's not gonna be super cold anyway. But got this welder on here. Actually it's kind of ugly in here. I might just take the die grinder and just clean that out. And then this is obviously not the prettiest thing in the world, but the rest of it, I didn't really build it for beauty, more for function, and obviously I made sure it wasn't gonna look too bad. But just take the die grinder and clean that up. And then I think this is actually done. One thing I definitely don't want is this thing falling down on my feet. I might not have any feet after that. At least not a complete foot. No, let's just put this here. Like that. I would be able to pull on this if you need to pull the tractor out, and also can lift this up and then also hook it on to the front of the tractor. And then if you wonder how I'm going to be able to use the tractor to hook this on to the front of the tractor, well, that's because we have two tractors. Really, we have three, but anyway, one doesn't really work. Yeah, but we have two, the MF35, and then we also have a Fergie, so I can just use the Fergie, lift this up and hook it onto this, and hook this onto the front of the 35 then, and but that one doesn't really work now. But I also have another way of hooking this up, I think, with just using the 35. So that's just easy to show you how I'm gonna do that. And also, I think this thing is done now. So just to clean up a bit in here and, well, see if it, well, put it on really, I guess. here you can see the difference between the railroad track I use now and what I had just laying on there before, kind of. It's well, a slight little size difference. Like, it's not much higher, much wider, but just overall it's just a lot beefier. As you saw, it's actually pretty easy putting it on with being by yourself and not having to lift anything really. Just kind of to tip it over, and then it kind of falls onto this, and then just to back up a little bit and it's on. And well, I think it actually looks pretty good. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely not as compact as it would be if you had a solid chunk of steel, but at the same time it kind of acts as a bumper, so if you drive into anything, it's not gonna damage the grill on the tractor. And I guess it's kind of low to the ground, but it's not lower than what that is. And usually, because I'm gonna only really use this when I'm using the back attachment, and that I don't want to drive in any crazy trains with. in the what do you call it, off-road, then I guess it's more of a right word. Because that's kind of scary if it starts leaning a lot. Yeah, it's kind of scary. And then I also thought to paint that, not the actual weight, I don't care about that, but I thought to paint the actual, yeah, the part that is mounted to the tractor there. But I kind of changed my mind on that. I just don't really bother paint it. I don't really feel like painting it. It's not very fun or anything. And yeah, it's never gonna rust away or anything like that, so I'm just gonna leave it. Also, it kind of matches the rest of the tractor. It's not, you know, painted or anything. It's kind of rusty look, so it kind of matches that, I guess. And I can always paint it in the future, so I'm just gonna leave it for now anyway. And then, before, in the part 1, I'm making this weight, or front weight here, drilled this hole out to 12 millimeters because I thought to just make my own pins for this, but then I was still ordering some stuff and I just saw some pins and it was only like $3 a piece or something like that, 2 maybe even, very cheap. So I just bought a couple 16 mil pins. So I just thought we'd drill that out to 16 mil to fit these. And I think that's actually the last thing, and then we're done with this. And I thought, let's just see how much this thing actually weighs. So let's just see here. We got, to say, about 82 centimeters to be really precise, 28 centimeters, or 27, say 27, 2 pieces 27. So that's 136 centimeters, if I'm not right or wrong. 136 centimeters. And then this weighs 5 kilos per decimeters. So 13.6 decimeters. And then we're gonna times that by 5, whatever that is. And then we got this 50 kilos weight here. And then this weighs probably another 4 kilos. 3 to 4 kilos. And then all this here that we made in the last video, if I remember right, that weighs around 30 kilos. And then we cut that part off underneath, so we'll call that 25 kilos. And well, I guess we cut off a little more down here, but roughly. Now I'm just gonna calculate this on the phone. I don't bother to do that in the head. So that probably doesn't make any sense to you, but you don't need to care about that. This 20 kilos is what that weighs right there. And then I just included the weight of this piece here and the actual weight. And the whole weight together, roughly, is around 126 kilos. So a little heavier than I planned it. I planned it around 110, 120. So a little more, but that's just good, I guess. A little heavier. Then obviously totally weighs 146 kilos, this whole thing. So it's pretty heavy. maybe this will work. This chuck is just slipping. Well, I guess I changed the chuck too to a different one. This probably works. Okay. Get it loose very easy, I think. Finally. There we go. And then this is actually not the day after I finished it. It's actually a few days later, and I actually already have had this on here and used it a little bit, or I used the back attachment. And when I was driving over speed bumps, a little too quickly maybe, but then I realized it's pretty good to have these, because the whole thing just kind of jumped up. I mean, not off or anything, but just kind of, well, now it's too heavy, but just kind of jumped out a little bit. And then this hole is pretty small, so I should have bought some locking pins for this, or I don't know what you call it. Some of these. Maybe I should drill these out, or actually I think I have some of these, some other locking pins like this that will fit this. It's been below freezing the last couple days, which is pretty nice, because for the past months it have been raining pretty much and just been super muddy, but today's a little bit above freezing, so everything is just starting to melt. If we can get in here to the 430, which I have still, and another little project, and this I have to get back to this, but yeah, have a little too much other things now, and I thought, right, these, yeah, that'll do. So we'll just steal a couple of these, like that. Just gonna have to remember to get some new ones. Ah, it's all oily. There. There we go. And I just clean this off a little bit. That should just go like that. That looks to be about on, so well, now that ain't going nowhere. But I thought, let's just go and get this hooked up to the back attachment there. So now I did things that is kind of stupid and you probably shouldn't do. First thing, extend the boom way far back, so you're putting tons of load on the whole, you know, everything here, loader arms, that's the wrong word. Yeah, everything here really. And yeah, just stupid stress on the tractor. But what I wanted to see is kind of how back heavy it is really to put it back. I didn't have any bucket on here, I know, or the grapple or anything, but usually I don't put it back without putting the outriggers down. But just to see how much more that little, how much that to add that 30 kilos. No, how much is it? I think the original weight, or the actual weight here itself, weighed around, I think the actual weight weighed 80 kilos, and then this was another 10, so 90 kilos total. And now it weighs, what did it, 126, so 36 kilos more. And and while it's maybe not a huge amount of weight, it definitely did a bit, because to extend that back without putting the outriggers down before, I think it got quite light in the front, and now it didn't really want to, you know, tip up. So I think it did. And the other thing I did, which you kind of shouldn't do, is to let off the clutch really quickly, because then when I did that before, I would not have flipped up, but it would have, the front wheel would have come up probably 10 centimeters or so. Now it did, you know, it got light, but it didn't really want to come off the ground, so that definitely helped. Sure, I didn't have a bucket or anything, but still, it definitely did a bit. And just the other day here, I actually used the back attachment with a grapple on and drove around a little bit, and yeah, it seems to do quite a bit. It seems to do pretty good. I didn't want to put, you know, huge amount of weight. I mean, I could have put a couple 100 kilos, I guess, if I wanted to, but I don't want to, you know, it's kind of a small tractor, I guess, to have all this stuff on, but so I didn't want to put too much, but it works pretty good still. So yeah, I'm happy with this. But well, yeah, I think that's about all. Yeah, I'm just really happy with this, how that turned out. But well, this is all for now, so thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.